Hey guys, Stargirl, Chapter 4. I hope y'all are enjoying this book. By your responses, I think you are. I'm going to send some questions. Miss Wendy will send those along with this. And this will be listed as Lesson 3, Stargirl TP. Here we go. Chapter 4. At Micah Area High School, Hillary Kimball was famous for three things: her mouth, the hoax, and Wayne Parr. Her mouth spoke for itself, most often to complain. The episode that became known as Hillary's hoax took place in her sophomore year, when she tried out for cheerleading. Her face and hair and figure were right enough, and she surely had the mouth. She made the squad easily, and then she stunned everyone by turning it down. She said she had just wanted to prove that she could do it. She said she had no intention of yammering and bouncing in front of empty bleachers, which was usually the case, and anyway, she hated sports. As for Wayne Parr, he was her boyfriend. Mouth-wise, he was her opposite. He seldom opened his. He didn't have to. All he had to do was appear. That was his job, appear. By both boys' and girls' standards, Wayne Parr was gorgeous. But he was more and less than that. In terms of achievement, Wayne Parr seemed to be nobody. He played on no sports team, joined no organization, won no awards, earned no A's. He was elected to nothing, honored for nothing, and yet, though I did not realize this until years later, he was the grand marshal of our daily parade. We did not wake up in the morning and ask ourselves, what will Wayne Parr wear today, or will Wayne Parr act today? How will Wayne Parr act today? At least not consciously, but on some level below awareness, that is exactly what we did. Wayne Parr did not go to football and basketball games, and by and large, neither did we. Wayne Parr did not ask questions in class or get worked up over teachers or pep rallies, and neither did we. Wayne Parr did not much care, neither did we. Did Parr create us, or was he simply a reflection of us? I didn't know. I knew only that if you peeled off one by one all the layers of the student body, you would have found at the core not the spirit of the school, but Wayne Parr. That's why, in our sophomore year, I had recruited Parr for the hot seat. Kevin was surprised. Why him, Kevin said. What's he ever done? What could I say? That Parr was a worthy subject precisely because he did nothing, because he was so monumentally good at doing nothing. I had only a vague insight, not the words. I just shrugged. The highlight of that hot seat came when Kevin asked Parr, who was his hero, his role model. It was one of Kevin's standard questions. Parr answered, GQ. In the control room, I did a double take. Was the sound working right? GQ, Kevin repeated dumbly. Gentleman's Quarterly, the magazine. Parr did not look at Kevin. He looked straight at the camera. He nodded smugly. He went on to say he wanted to become a male model. His ultimate ambition was to be on the cover of GQ. And right there he posed for the camera. He had that disdainful model look down pat, and suddenly I could see it. The jaw square at the corner of a cover, the chiseled cheeks, the perfect teeth and hair. That, as I say, took place toward the end of our sophomore year. I thought then that Wayne Parr would always reign as our grand marshal. How could I have known that he would soon be challenged by a freckled-nosed homeschooler? Chapter 5. For the next home game, more than 1,000 people showed up, everyone but Wayne Parr and Hillary Kimball. There was a line at the ticket window. The refreshment stand ran out of hot dogs. A second policeman was called in. The cheerleaders were in their glory. They screamed up at the bleachers, "Give me an E!" The bleachers screamed back, "E!" We were the electrons in honor of the town's electronics heritage. The cheerleaders ran through all their routines before the first quarter was over. The band was loud and peppy. The football team even scored a touchdown. In the stands, heads kept swinging to the edges of the field, to the entrance, to the street lamp lighted darkness behind the stadium. The sense of expectation grew as the first half came to a close. The band marched smartly onto the field, even they were looking around. The musicians did their program. They even formed a small lopsided circle. They seemed to linger on the field, drawing out their notes, waiting. Finally, reluctantly, they marched to the sideline. The players returned. They kept glancing around as they did their warm-ups. When the referee raised his arm and blew his whistle for the second half to begin, a sense of disappointment fell over the stadium. The cheerleader's shoulders sagged. She wasn't coming. On the following Monday, we got a shock in the lunchroom. Bleached blonde and beautiful Mallory Stillwell, captain of the cheerleaders, was sitting with Stargirl. She sat with her, ate with her, talked with her, walked out with her. By sixth period, the whole school knew. Stargirl had been invited to become a cheerleader and had said yes. People in Phoenix must have heard us buzzing. Would she wear the usual skirt and sweater like everyone else? Would she do the usual cheers? Did all the cheerleaders want this, or was it just the captain's idea? Were they jealous? Cheerleading practice drew a crowd. At least 100 of us stood by the parking lot that day, watching her learn the cheers, watching her jump around in her long pioneer dress. She spent 2 weeks practicing, and halfway through the second week, she wore her uniform, green-trimmed white V-neck cotton sweater, short green and white pleated skirt. She looked just like the rest of them. Still, to us, she was not truly a cheerleader, but Stargirl dressed like one. She continued to strum her ukulele and sing happy birthday to people. She still wore long skirts on non-game days and made a home of her school desk. When Halloween arrived, everyone in her homeroom found a candy pumpkin on his or her desk. No one had asked who did it. By then, most of us had decided that we liked having her around. We found ourselves looking forward to coming to school, to seeing what bizarre antics she'd be up to. She gave us something to talk about. She was entertaining. At the same time, we held back because she was different. We had no one to compare her to, no one to measure her against. She was in unknown territory, unsafe. We were afraid to get too close. Also, I think we were all waiting to see the outcome of an event that loomed larger and larger with every passing day. The next birthday coming up was Hillary Kimball's. I wonder how that's going to work out. Chapter 6. Hillary herself set the stage the day before. In the middle of lunch, she got up from the table and walked over to Stargirl. For a half a minute, she stood behind Stargirl's chair. Silence everywhere except for tinklings in the kitchen. Only Stargirl was still chewing. Hillary moved around to the side. "I'm Hillary Kimball," she said. Stargirl looked up. She smiled. She said, "I know. My birthday is tomorrow." "I know." Hillary paused. Her eyes narrowed. She jabbed her finger in Stargirl's face. "Don't try singing to me. I'm warning you." Only those at nearby tables heard Stargirl's faint reply. "I won't sing to you." Hillary gave a satisfied smirk and walked off. From the moment we arrived at school the next day, the atmosphere bristled like cactus petals. When the buzzer sounded for first lunch, we leapt for the doors. We swarmed into the food lines. We raced through our choices and hurried to our seats. Never had we moved so fast, so quietly. At most, we whispered. We sat, we ate. We were afraid to crunch our potato chips, afraid we might miss something. Hillary was first to enter. She marched in, leading her girlfriends like an invading general. In the food lines, she smacked items onto her tray. She glared at the cashier. While her friends scanned the crowd for Stargirl, Hillary stared ferociously at her sandwich. Wayne Parr came in and sat several tables away, as if even he was afraid of her on this day. Stargirl finally came in. She went straight to the food line, blithely smiling as usual. Both she and Hillary seemed unaware of each other. Stargirl ate, Hillary ate. We watched, only the clock moved. A kitchen staffer stuck her head out over the conveyor belt and called, "Trays!" A voice barled back, "Shut up!" Stargirl finished her lunch. As usual, she stuffed her wrappings into her paper bag, carried the bag to the paper-only can by the trash return window, and dropped it in. She returned to her seat. She picked up the ukulele. We stopped, breathing. Hillary stared at her sandwich. Stargirl began strumming and humming. She stood. She strolled between the tables, humming, strumming. 300 pairs of eyes followed her. She came to Hillary Kimball's table and kept on walking, right up to the table where Kevin and I sat with the hot seat crew. She stopped and she sang Happy Birthday. It was Hillary's name at the end of the song, but true to her word of the day, she did not sing it to Hillary. She sang it to me. She stood at my shoulder and looked down at me, smiling and singing, and I didn't know whether to look down at my hands or up at her face, so I did some of each. My face was burning. When she finished, the students burst from their silence with wild applause. Hillary Kimball stomped from the lunchroom. Kevin looked up at Stargirl and pointed at me and said what everyone must have been thinking. Why him? Stargirl tilted her head as if studying me. She grinned mischievously. She tugged on my earlobe and said, well, he's cute, and walked off. I was feeling 9 ways at once, and they all ended up at the touch of her hand on my ear until Kevin reached over and yanked the same earlobe. This keeps getting more interesting, he said. I think it's time to go see Archie. Okay, guys, Archie is going to be a big character, so you need to listen very carefully. Chapter 7. I'm going to read as much of this I can before the timer goes off. I don't think I'll finish, but at least I'll introduce Archie. A.H. Archibald Hapwood Brubaker lived in a house of bones. Jawbones, hip bones, femurs. There were bones in every room, every closet, on the back porch. Some people have stone cats on their roofs. So on his roof, Archie Brubaker had a skeleton of Monroe, his deceased Siamese cat. Take a seat in his bathroom and you found yourself facing the faintly smirking skull of Doris, a prehistoric creodont. Open the kitchen cabinet where the peanut butter was kept and you were face to face with fossil of an extinct fox. Archie was not morbid. He was a paleontologist. Ooh, that's a good word. Y'all might have to look that one up. Paleontologist. Paleontologist. The bones were from digs he had done throughout the American West. Many were rightly his, found in his spare time. Others he collected for museums, but slipped into his own pocket or knapsack instead. Better to sit in my refrigerator than disappear in a drawer in some museum basement, he would say. When he wasn't digging up old bones, Archie Brubaker was teaching at universities in the East. He retired at the age of 65. When he was 66, his wife Ada Mae died, and at 67 he moved himself and his bones west to join the other fossils. Okay, I'm going to stop there for today, so look for your questions on the email from Miss Wendy, and I will be talking to you next week.